And we're here at HashiDays, of course, so the event's been fantastic so far. We started actually yesterday with our first customer advisory board and our first partner advisory board here in EMEA. And then obviously we've had the keynote today and a bunch of other sessions, and everything's going great. Yeah, well, I think we've seen over the past few years, we've seen customers choosing multi-cloud, and I've always talked about it in two different ways. I think one is a strategic approach that customers have taken where, whether it's for cost or risk or operational reasons or sovereignty reasons or reasons that are important to their businesses, I always call that the strategic bit. And then I always kind of say there's an accidental bit, because most big companies are always on the hunt to acquire other companies to sort of furnish their own portfolios and stuff. So we see the accidental piece driving multi-cloud, because if I buy another company that had a different cloud strategy, well, guess what, I've got a multi-cloud strategy by design. So I think what we'll see is the evolution of that. My guess is that more and more organizations will pick multi-cloud because of certain regulations and certain other reasons. I think it's a trend that we've seen. I think 10 years ago there was a set of arguments around whether there was pure private cloud or pure public cloud, which were really futile, I suppose, because it really played out that multi-cloud was the default, and I think that's what we're going to continue to see. Yeah, I think I would probably put EMEA and sort of the Asia Pacific region closer than North America. I mean, obviously North America has a lot of different regulations of its own, and different customers in different industries have their own regulatory needs. But EMEA is a special case, especially if you think about all the size of the region. From sub-Saharan Africa through to Central Europe, through to the Germany, Austria, Czech region. Swiss region. If you think about it from the point of view of the Middle East, there's so many different regulations, so many different rules, and unfortunately that's a fact of life of doing business in those locations. And I think any provider, whether that's HashiCorp or the core cloud providers or any software as a service provider, is going to have to continue to be really aware of those regulations and plan for the services that they provide to be easily obtained by those customers, but also clearly they'll need to be in line with the regulations and certifications where those exist. So yes, we live in a complex region, but I think it's becoming clearer on what the cloud strategy is for the big providers. And of course, with us building our cloud platform on top of there, we're hoping that we'll be able to use some of the certifications they have, make it easy for everybody to adopt. Yeah, absolutely. I think globally, and as well as in EMEA, we have a difficult time finding the right talent. Talent is relatively scarce, and trying to find the right talent to deliver the next generation of applications and infrastructure, I think is always going to be a challenge. I think we've got like 3 million vacant security jobs worldwide. So clearly automation's a big part of that, and obviously HashiCorp plays a big role in that from an organizational perspective, removing some of the cognitive load across the entire DevOps tool chain. I think what we'll continue to see is the evolution of our commitment to HashiCorp validated designs. So, sort of be a program that we launch later in July that will give some really prescriptive guidance to help customers understand what it takes to move across, the 3 phases of the cloud operating model that we talk about. So there's some real practical things that we're doing, lowering the barrier to entry for the technology, making sure that customers understand how this stuff's supposed to go together. And of course, whether that's customers directly or partners, they'll be both able to avail of that.
Excellent. And then, from all the releases today, what are you most excited about to go into the market?
Oh, that's a tough question. What really impressed me was the demo that we saw for the HCP Vault Secrets. I think when you think about secrets, it's a complicated space. Everybody does it slightly differently, and of course we've tried to help customers standardize that approach by providing Vault, obviously, in the integrations as well, but it's still very complicated. I think if you look at what we did with HCP Secrets today, the very simple example, literally 3 clicks and 30 seconds, you can get into the business of secret management. And I think that's really important, because, it's daunting for organizations, and even if they can just avail of that and think about how to take it from there into sort of a wider context, that was certainly, I think was one of the coolest things we've done. Well, I think the financial services industry, I guess they're always at the tip of the spear of things, even though it's a regulated industry. We see organizations that are pushing forward really in the FSI space. Again, difficult because it's across EMEA, so there's obviously a large propensity of customers in London, but also in other capital cities across EMEA. So we're seeing sort of big growth there, and hopefully that'll continue, because obviously most banks want to evolve to be digital first, serving customers in new ways and finding new ways to bring products into the hands of customers. So I think it's amazing what the financial service industry is doing, and hopefully we'll get behind them and help them get there.